name is Reverend Hylton from right here in Atlanta, Georgia.
Are you an actual reverend?
I am an actual reverend by the way of filling out some paperwork online. About 10 years ago, my brother and his wife asked me to marry them. And so I did that, and I do about, 3 or 4 weddings now a year, just for friends and family. And then I'd say 7 years ago, I was asked to put a band together for a festival up in North Georgia. And the guys that I was playing with said, let's name the band Reverend Hylton and the Heads. And it just kind of went from there. And then as I ventured out into my solo career, I was battling with a guy named Justin Hylton out of Atlanta, or out of Alabama actually. And so I just stuck with the Reverend Hylton, and it's worked for me.
Awesome. What are some stories or life lessons that you're trying to tell through your songs?
Most of my songs are pretty autobiographical. Of course, there's hyperbole and everything, but I come from living on the road, living on the streets, pretty hardcore drug addictions, heartbreak, all those things. So what I'm trying to portray, and I think what ends up happening is some sad songs filled with a little bit of hope, because that's kind of what I am. I made it out the other side. I've been sober for quite some time, and that's there's hope on the other side. We can make it out. So that's kind of the stories are they're pretty wild and they're pretty crazy. I've lived everywhere from the Keys to San Francisco and everything in between, living out of cars, living on the streets, and so the stories they're wild, but I've got plenty of fodder to pull from these days. So,
any stories you want to share with us?
I think that if we're gonna go with like a funny story about those times, I used to live on a sailboat down in the Keys, and I drank pretty heavily. And this one night, I came walking out of a bar called the Brass Monkey, which is kind of if you've ever been to Marathon, it's a rougher little bar. And I was blacked out, and I came walking across the parking lot, and this cop saw me, and he said with each step, my face was getting closer to the ground. And he pulls up, and I thought that he was a cab. And so I just opened up the back door and I hopped in, and on the key you could get anywhere for $5 in a cab. So I just threw this $5 bill at this, who I thought was a cab driver, turned out to be a cop, and I said, take me to the marina. And I woke up the next morning not on my boat, which is probably a good thing, because I would have had to get on my dinghy and then paddle myself out to my boat, and could have possibly drowned in Boot Key Harbor. And I woke up, and this was the middle of the summer, so I woke up with blankets on, kind of chilly, and behind bars. And I had a short walk from the jail. Actually ended up being about 150 yards from the harbor. So the funny part about it is nobody really knew my name down there. They just all called me Jesus. And so when I didn't show back up at the boat, they had to call the hospitals and they had to call the jails and ask if anybody by the description of Jesus or Jesus had been picked up or showed up in the hospital. And so for a little while there, you could ask about the day that Jesus got arrested. And they tell you the story about it. So.
Well, congrats on your sobriety.
Thank you.
Has the return to your picking roots after being in the jam scene for so long had an effect on your current sound, or do you feel that you tend to separate the two?
I think the separation is mainly that I don't play electric guitar anymore. I played acoustic for many years. That's what I grew up on. I grew up playing bluegrass standards, old country classics, that sort of thing. When I was 16, my grandfather taught me to play the guitar when he was learning to play the banjo. And so, you know, old bluegrass and Waylon and Merle and Willie and all that stuff is what I learned to play on. And then, you know, when I was actually asked to put that band together with Reverend Hylton and the Heads, I was bored with the acoustic guitar. I was bored with what was going on, and so I picked up an electric guitar and I started buying amps and pedals and more electric guitars, and it was good. That took me away from the monotony of what I was doing. But then when it was time, you know, I was in a jam band, Three Down Crew, and we had a lot of fun. We released an album. But when that ended, it was good to get back, you know, to, you know, writing and focusing more on the songwriting and that sort of thing.
So how different is it touring with a band like Three Down Crew as opposed to touring with essentially yourself?
You know, the guys in Three Down Crew were great. We got along really, really well. It's nice. I guess like the best thing about touring with other people is that you have the opportunity to share those experiences. Touring by myself, I've become. It's a kind of a form of meditation. You know, when I'm out there and I'm on the road by myself, and, you know, taking it all in on my own, and I can stop whenever I want to. I can eat wherever I want to. There's never that argument. You know, that it gets super lonely sometimes, but it also forces me to put myself out there. I sometimes do feel bad for the bartender when I first get to the venue, because they're usually the first ones there. It's like you get there and the bartender's setting up, and then, you know, the sound guy's always late, and so I end up talking a little bit too much to the bartender when I first get there, because it might be that I've been on the road for 7 hours and I haven't said a word to anybody except for like my breakfast person. But I wouldn't, you know, I do tours with other bands. I'll be on the road with other bands, and being able to share that experience with them is great. But then I also have the opportunity to retire to my vehicle and be alone. So.
Would you say you see your songs more as a way for you to help others, or as a personal therapy for yourself that others might find useful? It's definitely a therapy for myself, and luckily it has become therapy for other people. I write songs because it's what I have. It's what I have the ability to do. It's what I use in order to get over a situation or to deal with things. But a lot of people in this world deal with the same thing that I do, and so it reaches those people. And, you know, I'm blessed to have the ability to take the craziness that's inside of my head and be able to put it out there, you know, in an artistic format, and get it out of here, you know, because the worst place that I can be is stuck inside my head, and I have that ability to put it out there. And if people can relate with that, then that's awesome, and a lot of people do. And so and I get to, you know, travel around and play songs for those people. And then, you know, there's definitely nights where I'll play a show, and then I'll end up spending all night talking with somebody about what they're going through, about what's going on in their life, their addiction, their heartache, their whatever, their depression, whatever they're going through. And, you know, I have the ability to sit down and talk to those people because of my music, and I might be able to help them, you know, just by talking. So. Something about your phrasing and candid lyricism reminds me a lot of Johnny Cash. Would you say he's an influence of yours, or who else has influenced your sound?
I mean, I think it'd be hard to say as a songwriter that you haven't been influenced by Johnny Cash in some form or the other. I mean, from his sound and from his writing, you can trace a lot of music to, you know, that sound, and, you know, the Tennessee 3 and, you know, that whole thing. I appreciate that. Thank you. Yeah, Johnny Cash he's been a huge influence growing up, and even recently. It's always something to go back to. You know, I grew up on the early stuff of the Grateful Dead.
I think American Beauty and Working Man's Dead are two of like the quintessential Americana albums. You know, this day and age, I think Ryan Adams, not Brian Adams, is I think he's one of the greater songwriters of our generation. You know, he influences me, and I think like I get influenced every single day by the amount of music that's out there. It's I can sit and get turned on every single day to something that is going to show up on my Spotify playlist or something, and I think that in itself is inspiring, knowing that like I'm going to hear something new pretty much every day that I'm going to be like, this is awesome, you know. So then there's inspiration all over the place. So.
Bag of broken bowls on my table, bag of broken hearts in my soul. Plenty of things I could be thinking about, but tonight, that's what haunts my thoughts. And I don't even know who your father is. I have never met your mom. I see you every once in a while and then you're gone. I have seen your smile light up my room, and I have held your skin against mine. I kissed you softly into the night, held you in that morning light. I have seen your face and I felt your warm embrace, but I know there is nothing I can change to escape the shadows of your life. Drive down Chet Atkins freeway, spend one single night with you. I think about it all week till it all finally comes true. We hide out in your hometown, stay up all night long in a cheap motel, and in the morning you're off to work, and I am on that road again. And I have seen your face and felt your warm embrace, but I know there is nothing I can change to escape the shadows of your life.